Number 10. Justin Bieber's roast. Ah, the comedy roast. The most wonderful tradition of the comedy world. A gathering of some of the funniest and most clever people on the scene coming together to make fun of each other on stage in a friendly and dark performance. In 2012, actor, comedian, scholar, and jerk James Franco participated in one of these roasts, inviting several top-tier comedians like Sarah Silverman, Aziz Ansari, and to host the show, he got his longtime buddy Seth Rogen. One of the key members of the dais was Jonah Hill. Jonah was best known for comedic roles in movies like The Sitter and Superbad, but around 2011 he made a shift to the more serious side of filming, starring alongside Brad Pitt in the movie Moneyball. While he was sitting in his cozy little chair before his turn on the mic, everyone who came up to the stage had a joke to make about Jonah's behavior. He's been cold and rude, man, with his head jammed so far up his rear that he looks like an alien from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. When Jonah came to the stage to retort, he held his own, but his words were noticeably more scripted compared to his fellow performers who gave like a more off-the-cuff and authentic delivery. The truth has been there all along. Jonah said little to nothing to his fellow roasters following the event, apparently snubbing James himself. Everyone collaborated on a movie called This Is the End, and according to Seth Rogen, it was the last time that he ever saw Jonah Hill smiling and enjoying his time on set. It seems that his turn to the more serious side of things may have taken a toll on his ability to feel joy. Number 9. His choice of roles. Jonah's career is filled with everything from comedy blockbusters to serious dramatic pieces. He got his start working in comedy films, with one of his first performances being a brief cameo in the film 40-Year-Old Virgin before moving to a leading role in the classic cult comedy Superbad. It's one of my favorite movies, and Jonah is by far one of the best parts of it, on top of Bill Hader and Seth Rogen as cops. That's just legendary. While he started making people laughing in 2007, by the mid-2010s, Jonah had shifted his efforts to the more serious and macabre, with his roles in films like True Story and Wolf of Wall Street. He even earned an Oscar nomination for his supporting character in Moneyball with Brad Pitt. The red flag was the dramatic shift in tone from Hill as a performer. If you put his posters from the last 20 years side by side, you'll see that the older he gets, the less color there is on the page. Like, the more serious things are, the more black and white they need to be. He attempted to return to the comedy world in a recent Netflix movie called Don't Look Up, but thanks to the news of his possible tyranny arising, we doubt there will be a 23 Jump Street anytime soon. Number 8. His refusal to be interviewed. Have you ever noticed that when a Jonah Hill movie comes out, he's like never really been around to talk about it? Well, according to several celebrity news and interview sites, Jonah actually refuses to participate in most interviews simply because the ones that he has done in the past have just been extremely uncomfortable. When he was doing press for the movie Superbad, several of the interviewers were asking Jonah questions about his weight, calling him a large comedian over and over again. Now, he may be a large man, but that wasn't necessarily the selling point of Jonah Hill. The following few years, while still being involved in comedy films, Jonah was dodging questions left and right about his size, going up and down. Eventually, Jonah actually lost a ton of weight for his role alongside Channing Tatum in the comedy movie 21 Jump Street. The interviews for that film were the final straw for Jonah though, now being asked by people why he was so thin, literally fighting one of the most unwinnable battles of interviewer time. Since the early 2010s, Jonah has been sticking to the shadows and simply being in whatever movie comes out. While the line of questioning may have caused him to avoid the interview spotlight, this was around the same time he shifted to a serious role in Moneyball, seemingly proving his mind had snapped. Number 7. Jonah's ex. Recently, a news article broke that has brought to light some troubling information about Jonah Hill. According to his ex-girlfriend Sarah Bradley, Jonah was emotionally damaging towards her during their relationship. The couple first got together in 2021, meeting on a beach as she was a surf instructor. According to a series of texts between Sarah and Jonah, it's obvious that he is mentally manipulative. He tells Sarah to remove any photos of her surfing from Instagram that showed her bum bum in a thong, and when she did that, he told her it was a good start but that she didn't seem to get his point. He then told her, "It's not my place to teach you. I've made my boundaries clear. You refuse to let go of some of them, and you've made that clear, and I hope that makes you happy." In another screenshot, Jonah showed his plans and simple conditions for maintaining their relationship, including stating that he didn't want Sarah surfing with men. You know, like doing her job. He wrote a massive list of boundaries and rules that were clearly him trying to control everything that Sarah did. One point literally saying that she can't post pictures of herself in a bathing suit. What's she supposed to wear to the beach? A turtleneck? His manipulation is apparent and will surely shift Hollywood's opinion on the once great comedian. Number 6. The Wolf of Wall Street. Wolf of Wall Street is considered to be one of Martin Scorsese's best modern movies. The film is based on a book written by the titular wolf Jordan Belfort, chronicling his rise and demise to stock market fortune. In the film, Jonah plays Donnie Azoff, a man who actually quit his job to work for Jordan in the glory days. His character is a good time on screen, but Jonah's ability to play Donnie is just a little bit too good. Donnie's character spends the majority of the movie being a degenerate and getting his friends either arrested or injured over and over again. According to Martin Scorsese, Jonah would just walk on set and go in. No prep, no routine, he would just go. This should have been the biggest red flag of them all. If someone playing an evil wizard had just walked on set one day and started shooting lightning balls out of their hands, you'd be like, oh my god, that guy's a real wizard. When Jonah was able to easily switch between himself and the womanizing substance user he plays on screen, Martin should have called a psychiatrist to give this guy a good once-over. Number 5. His rapid change in weight. Many performers are able to shrink and grow seemingly at will. Look at Christian Bale. He has gained and lost weight over and over again for roles over the years, attributing the dramatic changes to a form of method acting, allowing him to literally embody his characters. Jonah is no stranger to this concept, as he was spotted over 100 pounds lighter in 21 Jump Street than he had previously been in the movie Moneyball. I guess when you're nominated for an Oscar, they give you some kind of a gym membership or something. We should look into that. While Jonah's rapid shrinking and growing isn't necessarily a red flag per se, we can't imagine that the rapid change is good for his body, and with the news of his possible toxic behavior, it appears that that change may have affected his mental health as well. In his most recent flick, You People, alongside comedy legend Eddie Murphy, Jonah appears to have returned to his larger build and returned to the realm of comedy. Now, I haven't personally seen the movie, but the reviews so far suggest that it may be one of those movies that you throw on in the background, you know, just kind of put it on while people are hanging out. Just not a good one. Number 4, his attitude on set. Jonah may have started his career as a comedy king, but his attitude on set is anything but fun. According to many directors over the years, Jonah is a very gifted actor, able to come to set prepared for work every day with no hesitation. The only overall problem seems to be his communication skills. Jonah is known to be a very quiet and reclusive man on set, apparently spending a majority of his time in trailers away from the cast and crew. He's also known to be rather quiet while being given directions or while waiting for a scene to be reset. Like, imagine being a PA on set, you're standing next to the guy from Superbad and he's just on his phone playing Candy Crush all day. People always say it's the quiet ones that you have to worry about, and it seems that his quiet time may have been spent contemplating the meaning of life and his role in it. Or he spends it making a mental list of all the things that his partner needs to do to please him in a relationship. That might be it too. Number 3, he turned down The Hangover. Arguably one of the funniest trilogies in recent history has been the Hangover saga, a series of films following 3 friends trying to piece together the wild night they had before. They lose their friends on roofs, they steal monkeys, and Ken Jeong is in it, so you cannot go wrong. What many people may not know is that the role of Alan, played by Zach Galifianakis, was actually offered to Jonah Hill over 3 times before they just finally gave up. While there was no specific reason why he didn't want to participate in this, a low-budget flick called Cyrus was released not long after The Hangover started production. It seemed that Jonah wanted to work in a more serious role instead of participating in one of the highest-grossing comedy trilogies of all time. While Cyrus was an interesting movie, it follows Jonah playing the titular son, living with his mother, played by Marissa Tomei, who befriends and begins to date John C. Reilly. It's a great movie, but it's nowhere near the caliber of the Hangover series, so we just wonder how hard Jonah was kicking himself after that one. Number 2, he canned 23 Jump Street. Alright, this is an entry that actually hurts to talk about, so I just need a second because it would have been really cool if they had made it, okay? In 2012, Jonah and Channing Tatum starred in a comedy reboot of the classic crime series 21 Jump Street for a more modern audience. The film received massive success at the box office and was quickly picked up for the sequel treatment. The sequel ended up being one of those few examples in Hollywood history of a second movie being better than the first, which is why it was so surprising to hear that the planned threequel 23 Jump Street was canned by Sony Studios. The main reason being, well, it was just too ambitious for Jonah. You see, the third entry in the franchise was going to be a massive crossover between 2 Sony properties. Jonah and Channing were set to cross paths with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith's characters from the Men in Black trilogy. The leaked script told the story of Jonah and Channing's characters investigating a new substance at a university, only to discover that the suppliers are extraterrestrials being hunted by the Men in Black. The idea of Jonah and Channing wearing that black suit and shades while holding comedically large it makes my soul sing with joy. A script was written, but ultimately the studio thought it just wouldn't make any money and end up being a massive misstep in the franchise. Apparently Jonah actually had something to do with this too. You see, while Channing was filled with excitement towards this project, Jonah felt that the entire thing was going to be one giant pain. His under-enthusiasm made the studio nervous to go forward with what would have been one of the best movies in the last 10 years. Instead, Sony decided to reboot the Men in Black franchise with Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, and it's just bad. It's just really bad. And at number 1, everything about him. I know it's a bit of a cop-out to say that the biggest red flag is everything that Jonah Hill has done, but am I wrong? As mentioned on this list, this guy has shifted his weight up and down, he's ignored his cast and crew while on set, he's flippy-floppy all over the genre map, and he's been mentally manipulative towards the women in his life. Jonah was a light in the early days. People remember him bringing joy to the set and always being in a good mood. But as the years went by, things got worse and worse, to the point that he now just does his job, grabs his check, and moves on to the next project. Now that he's been outed as being a mentally manipulative man in his personal life, we can only imagine the slew of backlash and cancellation that Jonah is surely about to face.
Number 10. Sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J-Lo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9. Cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year, after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag, and it included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Glee alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused J-Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Glee. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J-Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J-Lo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti. But the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for J-Lo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how J.Lo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke about it again," which is even weirder. The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6. The Mark Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time. But the on-again off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not J.Lo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 5. Insensitive comments. To give you some background on why everyone felt that J.Lo was trashing belly dancing. So a part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assume represented the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But she apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this, and said, quote, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wants something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused about why that was so controversial, essentially she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering the fact that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and it's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese Syrian Arab roots. Number 4. Avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes J.Lo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, "such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Number 3. The movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined J.Lo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. It was so ironic because JLo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than JLo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Yikes. Number 2. Accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, JLo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans. Using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, "For anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me." Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Fredo Daj was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany, during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of JLo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph, and was promptly turned away. Frey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful.
And number 10, we have trying to dress up. Recently, Justin Bieber was spotted on a tour while visiting Tokyo. However, the star looked different than what fans were used to seeing. In the pictures circulating on social media, the singer can be seen wearing a wig. With the accessory, he's also seen wearing sunglasses, jeans, and a light fur coat. Justin's level of disguise has definitely been causing a stir on the internet, with some fans even pointing out they wouldn't have even realized it was him if it wasn't pointed out. Other fans have even gone to say, "Oh, spare us, Justin, it's already starting to look like a pattern." And wow, he really doesn't want to be recognized, does he? And to add a cherry on top of Justin's odd behavior, one fan would even pick fun at the pop star by saying, "What a great idea to walk next to Hailey, just so no one would recognize her." Well, it's safe to say that Justin probably should work on upping his level of disguise, because this definitely did not work. And number 9, abandoning a monkey in a foreign country. After Justin's pet monkey, Mally, was seized by the German officials, when the singer was trying to bring the animal into the country without permission during a stop on his Believe tour, it said that Justin didn't have some proper paperwork, so the authorities seized the monkey and quarantined it at the airport. However, the monkey would later become property of Germany, and Justin would later be sent a bill of $1,500 after he decided to abandon his monkey in the country. Mally is currently living with a group of other monkeys in a wildlife refugee in North Germany, and Biebers still owes Germany's Federal Agency of Nature Conservation $11,000 for vaccinations and rehoming fees, which is truly disappointing. This was your pet and you left him behind, you didn't even try to get him back. This was definitely a red flag, and it showed that the star isn't someone we thought he was, and we really should have noticed. And number 8, ordered his bodyguards to carry him. When visiting China, you have to visit the Great Wall. That's just a given. However, Justin Bieber's visit would definitely highlight one giant red flag that many of us missed. When visiting the wall, photos of Justin would soon circulate online showing Justin being hoisted on top of his bodyguard's shoulders like they were his minions, and they even carried him up the Great Wall of China. Now, Justin was definitely able to walk up the wall himself, as just before his adventure, he was spotted skateboarding around town as two of his security guard members jogged behind him. It was definitely a diva-like move that none of us could get over, and it was a shame to see the star deprived himself of a chance to experience the experience and made his security team do the hard work for him. And number 7, banned for life from a skydiving facility. Las Vegas indoor skydiving confirmed back in 2013 that Justin Bieber would be banned for life after he used the facility and then backed out of a payment deal he arranged with the company. Justin and 6 of his entourage members would arrive to the facility just before it closed. When the pop star was approached about a payment method, he was apparently given the option of shelling out $1,600 for himself and his crew, or posting a shout out of the facility and a photo of himself mid-flight to his Instagram account. Justin at the time reportedly agreed to post a photo as payment, but the company never got their $1,600 worth of publicity, and they would say he actually faked like he was posting something. As per the agreement, it never actually happened. In addition to not paying, the group also didn't tip the staff, even after they stayed late to accommodate their needs. And number 6, ignored pilots. In 2014, CNN would report that Justin and his father allegedly refused a pilot's warning to stop smoking during a flight from Canada to New Jersey. Law enforcement officials would later give details that the flight crew on the charter jet told the federal officials after they ferried Justin and his entourage to New Jersey. The smoke was so strong in the cabin that the flight crew members even had to put on oxygen masks because they were concerned that they would inhale so much of it, it would cause their tests to say that they were positive for being under the influence. When the pilots asked the group to stop, Bieber and his father would begin to have some words with the crew, which would result in the pilots in attendance to close the cockpit to avoid contact with the group. When they landed, Justin would be granted re-entry into the United States after a search of the charter plane was done by federal officials. They did detect smoke smell, but they never found any signs of substances. And number 5, his dreadlock phase. Justin doesn't do too well with apologies. We all know that. When the singer debuted his dreadlocks, he sparked some major controversy as fans started to accuse the star of cultural appropriation and white privilege. With fans calling out Justin for not being himself, many stated that the star could have done better. One fan even chimed in by saying, "It's really disappointed to see you with dreads. I thought you educated yourself." The star then decided to stick with his dreadlocks and refused to respond to the backlash he was receiving by fans. Instead, he decided to share a statement about acknowledging insecurities by saying, "Aren't we all broken? We can hide behind superficial things, but the truth is, we're all hurting." So what's your opinion on celebrities trying to rock braids and dreadlocks, and let me know in the comments below. And number 4, he talked about becoming the next Michael Jackson. In an interview done back in 2012, Justin Bieber would make it clear that he wants to be nothing less than the next Michael Jackson, the new king of pop, after he would go on to say that, "That's where I want to be. I don't want to just be a heartthrob teen." Now, when someone starts saying that they want to be the next anyone, it should be a giant red flag, especially when they're trying to say they want to be the next Michael Jackson, because no one will ever be the next Michael Jackson. That's just a given. Bieber would go on to borrow machine-like dance moves, glitter gloves, and he even copied Michael's signature move in like a gentle way, I guess. This would definitely become a major red flag, and we were missing it because he was trying so hard to be someone he's not, rather than just being himself and allowing his fans to appreciate who he really is. And number 3, running around town in his undergarments. In 2020, Justin would be pictured running around downtown LA in his Calvin Klein briefs after shooting a music video all night. When photos started circulating online, it would show the star wearing nothing but briefs as he raised his arm above his head and smiled as he walked towards his trailer. And this wasn't the first time Justin's been spotted in public wearing nothing but his briefs, because back in 2018, it would seem like Justin forgot his bathing suit while on a trip to Miami after he was pictured out for a little dip wearing nothing but his white briefs. In the photos, Justin could be seen hanging out with his friends by the resort pool, wearing nothing but a wet pair of Calvin Klein boxer briefs before wrapping himself in a white towel before things became too revealing. Him and Haley would also be pictured later on in a hot tub as fans would call for the star to put on some clothes. And at number 2 we have meeting Stephen Harper in overalls. So back when Stephen Harper was still the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin had the chance to meet him back in 2012. However, his outfit choice was definitely interesting. When the singer stepped out in overalls to accept a Diamond Jubilee medal from Stephen Harper, he would go on to tweet, "I met the Prime Minister in overalls, LOL." Justin would later try to justify why he opted to wear overalls to such an event by saying, "It wasn't like I was going to his environment, we were at a hockey arena." And while he may have been at a hockey arena, he was receiving such a high-class award that it was only given to Canadians who earned achievements abroad, and he wore overalls to collect this achievement. Now, 50 years ago, if you pulled this move while going into work, they would have sent you home, so a lot of people were judging Biebers' decision to wear the overalls, and his excuse to trying to stay true to his fans and his own vibe, it was pretty weak. And at number 1 today, we have showing up late for shows. In 2013, Justin Bieber would be 2 hours late for a concert because he was playing video games and threw a tantrum. When Justin was set to perform at O2, he would end up being 2 hours late after throwing a massive tantrum and telling his staff that it was his gig and he would go out when he wanted to. After waking up late due to a night out, Justin would proceed to lock himself in a dressing room to play computer games. After, his actions would cause hundreds of teenage fans to be upset because they would have to leave to catch last trains before even getting the chance to see their idol perform. Justin would later come out to say he was only 40 minutes late and he said he had to come on late due to technical difficulties. He then highlighted that the event was great. However, one O2 worker would come out to say that wasn't the case and the star was actually backstage arguing with his management team. Justin's mentality about being a star that can do whatever he wanted that night was definitely a red flag that no one really noticed.
Number 10. New York Post article. Let's start things off with one of the earliest red flags we really should have caught. This one goes on all the way back to 2005 when a New York Post article written about Jared Leto's controversial behavior as a celebrity opened up with the line, quote, "Jared Leto likes him young." This was truly one of the earliest references to alleged concerning behavior, and it goes to show you that people were starting to pick up on his strange dating habits from early on. The article claimed that Leto was more than just a regular Hollywood playboy, but that he was, quote, aggressively pursuing many of the teen models shacked up at the Maritime Hotel while in town with his band 30 Seconds to Mars. According to the article, the actor, who at the time was most known for his breakout role in Requiem for a Dream, had become infamous for calling and texting some of his underage objects of desire several times a day. A source close to the star told the article that Leto was constantly texting underage girls and even called it a little creepy. Although the article didn't really affect Leto's work very much, it's still strange that his behavior has been an open secret in Hollywood for quite some time. Number 9. Extreme method acting. The controversy surrounding Leto's extreme method acting recently came back to light with the release of his latest film Morbius. Leto was well known to be someone who often takes method acting to the extreme and has been harshly criticized for it by many in the industry, and it's not difficult to see why. In order to prepare for his role as Dr. Michael Morbius, Marvel's very first on-screen vampire, Leto would reportedly remain in character for the duration of the shoot, even pretending to be disabled in between takes and using his character's crutches even on his bathroom breaks. While speaking to a Prox magazine, Morbius director Daniel Espinosa confirmed this and even added how Leto's technique became a problem on set as the actor would take too long to move around between each scene. Espinosa then added that Leto had to be given a wheelchair to move around for the sake of speeding him up because his antics on set were actually wasting a lot of time. But this left many people who have seen the film to wonder, all that for Morbius? I mean, the film was a critical and box office failure, so it's difficult to see how all that extra preparation was worth it. Number 8. The fan tattoos. Leto's band 30 Seconds to Mars are known for having an intimidatingly large and devoted following, but it seems some of the interactions between the band and the fans often push that relationship too far. When they were gearing up to begin production on a new video, the band invited fans to get lyrics of the song tattooed on themselves in order to feature in a clip. A move that even the fans themselves have branded as irresponsible. According to a post on the band's website, in order to be eligible for the video, fans must submit footage of themselves, quoting to a camera, "I am the echelon," which is the name given to the band's group of fans. They also had to include footage of their tattoo before, during, and after it was healed, as well as write a paragraph on why they're getting the piece. The band, led by Leto himself, know full well how much influence they have over their fans, so encouraging young ones to get tattoos just for the purpose of a few seconds of footage can be seen as reckless. Considering this was only one instance of the many times the band has crossed the lines in regard to their fans, it's safe to say that the group was always comfortable taking advantage of the trust and adoration of their followers. Number 7. Started a cult. Let's get into one of the biggest issues here when it comes to Leto. With an already well-established acting career under his belt by 1998, it was then that he decided to start up his very own rock group called 30 Seconds to Mars alongside his brother Shannon Leto. And while it may have started as an innocent exploration into new career paths, things took a turn for the worst when the band began to gain a large following, with many pointing out that it started looking more and more like a cult. In 2013, Leto joked about the situation during an interview with New York Times magazine, stating that the whole thing had been a joke and just a response to journalists calling them a cult. However, as the years progressed, it seemed to be anything but a joke. In 2019, Leto and the band hosted a Croatian getaway retreat, which sparked further rumors of the nature of the fandom. Photos that surfaced from the event showed Leto and fans alike wearing similar white outfits and throwing up strange hand symbols. Not to mention that Leto himself was wearing an all-white ensemble and looked eerily similar to Jesus with his beard and his hair. In a photo posted by the band's very own Twitter page, the caption even read, "Yes, this is a cult." Number 6. Scamming fans. Another way the band's following resembles a real-life cult is all the money. Not only did the 2019 event fuel the conspiracy theories of the actor leading a cult, but the huge prices for these cult-like getaways also sparked further controversy as Leto came under fire for taking advantage of his power and influence to get money out of his young fans. A separate retreat in Malibu that same year charged fans a whopping $999 to camp outside for 2 nights with tents that they themselves had to provide, and no other supplies included. I mean, the cheapest available option for a solo room was $6,499 for a VIP experience, or whatever that means. That's not the only event that fans had to shell out exorbitant amounts of money to pay for. There have been claims that the rock band has charged fans as much as $900 for meet and greet sessions, according to one blogger who allegedly attended such an event in 2013. Just as a little comparison, Rihanna only charged $116 in 2015, and Taylor Swift has always made it a point to make her meet and greets free. But their dedicated fans don't really seem to mind the high price tags, because so many posted on Twitter about it afterwards and said that although the price was a little bit overboard, the experience was ultimately worth it. I find that really hard to believe. Number 5. Joker mayhem. Several other actors who have shared the screen with Leto have famously spoken up about what it was like working alongside the bizarre actor. Like in 2016, when Leto found himself the subject of yet another controversy due to his strange and uncomfortable methods of preparing for his role as the Joker in the Suicide Squad. It seems like the actor has really built a reputation of being difficult to work with because he just takes it too far when preparing for a role. As a way to connect with his character, Leto would send wildly inappropriate gifts to his co-stars, such as dead animals, objects that are meant to be used in the bedroom, and items that are highly contaminated, all in the name of a prank. The backlash Leto experienced due to the vulgar gifts he sent his Suicide Squad castmates was not well received by the actor at all. During a 2016 interview with E!, he attempted to justify his actions, much to his co-star's disdain, after having described him as jarring. Quote, "I did a lot of things to create a dynamic, to create an element of surprise, of spontaneity, and to really break down any kind of walls that there may be there. The Joker is somebody who doesn't really respect things like personal space or boundaries. But honestly, what was the point of disturbing his co-stars to such a degree? The movie also bombed, and many critics pointed to his performance as part of the reason why." Number 4. The sleepover competition. This one really solidified the band's reputation as creepy. In 2013, 30 Seconds to Mars were promoting their 4th studio album, Love, Lust, Faith and Dreams, with a really weird and completely inappropriate giveaway. The winner of said competition would get to spend what the band called, quote, "a magical night in Leto's bed at his home." Yes, you heard that right. The prize of the competition was actually called a sleepover, which you could potentially win if you paid in advance for their album. That's not even the craziest part of all this. There were reportedly 6 lucky winners for the sleepover, and one of them ended up being chosen to sleep in Jared's bed. The winner, who just went by Tess, later posted on her blog that Leto's bed was actually a coffin. I mean, talk about red flags. While the premise of the competition was crazy, apparently travel was included and so were vegan pancakes. This goes to show you that Leto is acutely aware of the degree of fan dedication. In 2013, he actually said, quote, "If people like 30 Seconds to Mars, they really, really like it. We have this cult, this family, these believers. It's this knowledge that has given the band a sense of entitlement which is so ingrained that they feel that they can get away with pretty much anything when it comes to their fans." Number 3. Called out on Twitter. Leto really seemed to be getting some backlash in the era of the Me Too movement. It seemed that out of his fellow Hollywood celebrities, not everyone was willing to be silent when they heard that he was behaving inappropriately towards young women. In 2018, Suit Life of Zack and Cody star Dylan Sprouse came forward on Twitter to directly accuse Leto of those exact things and bring the disturbing allegations to light. Sprouse tweeted, quote, "Jared Leto, now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is?" As you would have predicted, the tweet totally blew up and many people were happy he was finally getting called out. The situation quickly escalated when Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn tweeted the following as an answer to Sprouse's initial tweet. "He starts at 18 on the internet?" Although the tweet has since been deleted, many users managed to grab a screenshot beforehand and notes that this was not the first time Gunn tried speaking about Leto's predatory behavior either. In fact, in June of 2015, the director reportedly did a live stream on the video app Periscope in which he made similar remarks about the actor's habits of sleeping with people that are. Number 2. Misconduct towards celebrities. One of the more serious allegations that Leto faced was his misconduct towards underage celebrities. In an article published by Screenshot Media, an even further accusation towards Leto was highlighted. The more recent backlash for the actor began after he was posing with pop star Olivia Rodrigo at the Grammy Awards and quickly came under fire on social media after users noted the string of allegations against Leto, including accusations that he constantly harassed young women and started a cult with his band 30 Seconds to Mars. 19-year-old Rodrigo took home 3 Grammys from that Sunday night award show, including Best New Artist that was actually presented to her by Leto. At the show, Rodrigo and Leto posed together for a few now viral photos, one showing them shaking hands and one showing Leto's hand on Rodrigo's waist. Twitter users criticized the show's decision to invite Leto to present given the current allegations. They also pointed out the fact that she is in the same age group as the other alleged victims that have come forward about Leto. Number 1. Underage fans. Leto allegedly has a tendency to not only target underage models and celebrities, but also his own underage fans. A now deleted article by Evangeline Van Houten titled Another Cosby, a reminder that several women have accused Jared Leto, highlighted one of Leto's super fans and their alleged experiences of sleeping with the actor. In fact, a number of victims, all underage, described the same scenario with Leto, and some of the allegations even suggested that the singer acted despite a lack of consent or continued even when asked to stop. One account stated, quote, "He never asked me if I was ever okay or comfortable with anything he wanted to do, simply because simply because he is not the person to care. The actor slash frontman once told Entertainment Tonight that he's found fans asleep in his bed. The strange comment has left many to wonder just how it is that they got there in the first place. But most troublingly, despite all the allegations now surfacing against Leto, they have yet to make any real impact upon his career or his ability to work in Hollywood.
At number 10, we have her forced marriage with Will Smith. Now, agree or disagree, but Jada herself has declared she got married unwillingly, and here's why. Much like everything else, Jada has openly discussed never wanting to initially marry Will, and because of this, a lot of people have made claims that Jada was wed under duress. However, Jada chalked it up to a far more reasonable explanation, and this was her being young and pregnant at the time. It's been stated how Jada's mother pushed her to tie the knot because she was fearful that Jada would never have the opportunity to get married if she didn't make that decision. Despite Jada's disapproval, the wedding still happened, and she never wanted a traditional marriage but had to compromise for Will's sake. She was going through various emotions at her 3-month term mark and even cried while going down the aisle because she was so angry with the idea of getting married. Not only was Jada against her marriage in general, she also disapproved of Will's luxurious lifestyle, and it's been detailed by sources that she was genuinely upset with Will when he bought their grand family home. If one didn't know any better, you could say their entire relationship seems forced at this point, but that's just a conspiracy theory and quite frankly, none of my business. At number 9, we have Jada being a huge attention seeker. Now this one is more of an observational theory rather than hard facts, but have you ever noticed how overly expressive she becomes when speaking about really personal things? Or how often she tries to shift the attention onto herself when it's really not about her? Well, maybe not, but according to multiple sources, this is exactly how Jada is, and they've used how she describes love to be one of their reasonings. Jada once said, the older she becomes, the more she's discovering what love truly is. Now there really isn't any harm in that statement, right? Maybe not. But it does say a lot about one's character when they've single-handedly used their deceased ex-lover and friend as a scapegoat for attention when they fall short. At least this is what those sources are saying about Jada. And that's putting it nicely. She's been described as somebody who drags Tupac's name through interviews at any given chance, where a lot of the times her late ex isn't even the topic of discussion, and Jada would just randomly mention him whenever she felt there was no spotlight on her. Again, this is more speculation, but why else would she continuously bring up someone she was close to who passed away? Wouldn't it hurt more to talk about them 24/7 rather than rarely or not at all? It's also been revealed that Jada got super pissed at Will at her 40th birthday party, which Will had been planning for 3 years prior. He had surprised her with a documentary he commissioned that chronicled her life. One would think this gesture of appreciation would work out in Will's favor, but it didn't. Jada and Will had it out after the party, and the incident was said to have popped off in their hotel when Will was reportedly shouted at and told that the event was one of the most disgusting displays of ego Jada had ever seen in her life. As a result, she and Will separated, as Will told her he was retiring from making her happy. I mean, that's one sure way to suck all the good vibes out of the room. At number 8, we have Jada's manipulation tactics. Now this is a big one, because of everything I looked into regarding Jada, the word manipulation came up a scary amount of times. Reasons why she's been referred to as such range from a multitude of things, many of which have to do with her husband. There's Jada's lack of reassurance to Will of her and Tupac's actual relationship at the time, to her claims that she and Tupac only kissed once and that there was nothing more there. But it was apparent Tupac had feelings for Jada. Yet Jada's own description of their relationship was quote weird. Jada no doubt strung Will along by being manipulative once she and Will started dating by casually trying to play off her situation with Tupac. In doing this, she had both their support and attention, hence the manipulation tactic. Jada used this excuse of not defining her relationship openly as an advantage for herself. With both of them by her side, the situation was manipulated to the point where no one could speculate any wrongdoing from her, while she still got what she wanted in the end. Some even say that Jada forced Will to transition to an open marriage down the road as another manipulation tactic for her being forced to marry him originally. At number 7, we have all the toxic energy which seems to surround Jada. I mean, seriously, get this girl some sage or something, because I'm positive many people will mutually agree with me. And the craziest part, there's lots of proof to back up the theory that Jada is just straight up toxic. One example is her IG post with her and Will's marriage counselor. Now there are a few things to get into from this one video, but to keep things short and sweet, Jada started rolling without even asking Will if he was ready. This raised a lot of concerns about how their marriage operates behind closed doors. Jada also called Will foolish and constantly made it seem as if his opinions were invalid during this. So despite many people thinking Jada is great, there are a whole lot more who feel she is one of the most toxic, foul Hollywood celebs out there, with good reason. There's also the accusation that Jada was behind Willow's letter to Tupac post, which randomly arose on Instagram and was deleted shortly after. The moral of the point here is that Jada knows she can do whatever she wants without repercussions, and Will always be by her side to fight. So she'll never leave or actually change her ways, and to me, that's toxic AF. If you ask anybody, people say Jada's overall attitude towards Will is actually because he was never anything more to her than a rebound, but we'll get into that in just a minute. At number 6, we have Jada's responsibility for her polygamous marriage. Will and Jada are currently in what we call an open relationship, which basically just means they're free to see and be with whoever they please but can't leave each other. Will stepped forward to disclose multiple times that he and Jada's marriage for them cannot feel like a prison, and this stemmed from rumors of Jada engaging in an affair with her Hawthorne castmate Mark Anthony, who was married to Jennifer Lopez at the time of their then unconfirmed incident. Jada's inappropriate affairs, despite not being full-blown, were said to be the cause of her and Will's marriage being forced open, basically so Jada could mess around with other people without catching any of the blame or downfall. So long as Will agreed, of course, which he did, by the way, and this may just be related to his previous statement of him saying he and Jada simply cannot get divorced. At number 5, we have the whole Future IG story mess, where Future made comments on Will and Jada's marriage after Jada opened up about intimacy on one of her Red Table talks to explain how a partner should know what she wants in the bedroom. Future first got involved after online memes started circulating about Will needing to hang out with him, who has a reputation for being involved with multiple women all the time, which implied that Will should learn to be more like Future in that sense. During her RTT, Jada described her partner's need to love her enough to know every part of her, which netizens thought implied Will didn't love her the way she was demanding. Twitter users also took her statements literally, which in turn sparked the whole debate of whether or not she embarrassed Will by saying she'd really bring Future to the Red Table. Charlemagne the God even questioned on his show once if Will was ever jealous of Jada and Tupac's relationship, where Will speaks about being insecure because of their tight bond. At number 4, we have Jada and her top-level narcissism. A user on Quora once described Jada as a histrionic, borderline narcissist, and their opinion on it in short is that Jada provokes Will's touch of feminism nature to bruise his ego. This user even explained why they feel Will has narcissistic tendencies and may even be one himself. They said, when you are involved with a highly narcissistic person, your mind is not your own. Jada said to Will, we're ride or die, bad marriage till the end. I knew then, they're both narcs. Will's masculinity suffered a narcissistic injury when Jada had a fling with a troubled young musician, a friend of her kid. Then Will went on Red Table to discuss it and she emasculated him. Will was triggered in the beginning by her obsession with Tupac. He took all of it out on Chris Rock when Jada gave him that look that triggered him to slap Chris. Chris was an easier target, that's my theory. Now, if we reel back to the public sharing of Willow's letter to Tupac, it made people feel like Jada was super self-absorbed for exploiting her daughter for her own selfish reasons. One YouTuber even commented on a video regarding Jada's behavior with the following: this woman somehow thinks she's a higher power, just out there healing the world, while realistically destroying all those close to her like narcissists do. Big yikes. At number 3, we have Jada's infidelity. Of course, she was out of line by her entanglement with August Alsina, especially because he was her son's friend and most likely vulnerable at the time. Plus, her messy affair with the R&B singer was later revealed by Will to have occurred after he and Jada were already separate. Despite this, Jada admitted to this affair of cheating when she and Will were not together but still married. But how she went about it was weird given what Will confirmed. She first made claims that Will gave his blessing for their affair, but the internet did not agree. It wasn't until Will publicly stepped forward to admit that Jada wasn't the only one being unfaithful that social media decided to ease up, though not by much. Still, people think Will's admission was a way to save face, but also to touch back on the rumors surrounding him and his Focus co-star Margot Robbie engaging in an affair of their own. Will's admission that he didn't give Jada permission to date because they weren't even together means their words, stories, and sides just aren't adding up. Regardless, Will says nothing Jada will do can ever change things for them now that they're open, because these were the terms they came to from the jump. Will and Jada are no longer described as married but as life partners instead. It's been detailed that Will may just be playing Jada's game because he doesn't want to lose her for good. At number 2, we have one of Hollywood's biggest drama queens. Well, Maybe that's a bit of a stretch here, but Jada is known for being one for the dramatics, and that's been noted because of her household full of drama. However, it's also been detailed that both Will and Jada are equally responsible for the drama that occurs in their home. Still, with all of Jada's major backlash every time she speaks, and being labeled as messy and difficult due to her outing intimate details of her relationship to the public with no real remorse for Will's feelings, it's safe to say that the majority of the public is leaning on the side of Jada being the chaos enabler. At number 1, we have Jada's lack of boundaries. This one is a no-brainer, I'm sure, because we all know Jada has a tendency to air it all out, whether it's intentional or not. Jada has been described as someone who overshares too much to the public, and this severely impacts her family. She's not very private about anything, which shows there are no boundaries in her relationships overall. In particular, she has no respect for Will by exposing everything about their relationship, which is just tasteless. And before you say this is unfair, we literally know everything we do know about them now because of Jada. She was the one who admitted to infidelity, which really should have been something Will was warned about before it went public, since Will was clearly caught off guard by the news of August telling the world he gave them permission. She was also the one talking openly about her intimacy once while her mother was present. Jada also constantly speaks so horribly about her marriage in general, so I'm sure you get the point now.